Yes. And they like my birthday. But she was like in my house too, so I can't spray that.
Yeah, and getting close to when they fix the way the rut. Small.
Or what? Bucks do?
Yeah, they rub their horns. So what I've got is a wire mesh. And I put it around the tree. When my father passed away, I bought a tree.
They're all together now.
This is lost.
Yeah.
I know. Somebody should.
Take cedar.
Hey, you did it in about 40 minutes. Yeah.
We feel like it's going.
Right here, this is, he's right back there. Okay, the green shirt's talking to him.
My Uncle Walter John's daughter was in town from California, and it was the night that we had our special meeting, and I mentioned you.
Since it's 6 o'clock, I'll call the Charter Township of Comstock Planning Commission meeting to order. If you would join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Our first item of business is the approval of the agenda. Kyle or Casey, do we have any changes?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then.
If there are none, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from July 24th, 2025. Do you have any changes on the minutes or any adjustments to it?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the July 24th, 2025 meeting.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this point in the meeting, we'll open the meeting to citizen comments. A citizen may state their name and address and speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you will be making statements to the board without discussion from the board members. But you are welcome to make appointments with planning and zoning staff to discuss your comments further. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Hi, my name is William Knight. Comstock Public Schools recently did a study for a risk analysis on the 400 megawatt battery energy storage system, and they produced a report this past week on that. I'm going to go ahead and read the minutes. just so everybody gets a clear understanding of where the school stands. And I encourage you to actually read their publication that they made. It gives a whole risk analysis, and it's good information that I think this board deserves to look at. Minutes from meeting with Glenn Cates of CTC Engineering. At 3 p.m. on Thursday, August 7th, 2025, I, being Dr. Jeffrey Tanis, met with Glenn Cates of CTC Engineering located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The purpose of our meeting was to review his firm's District Commission risk analysis report on the proposed 400 megawatt battery energy storage system. The report is succinct, only five pages, and he provided it to me before the meeting. Leading to a brief discussion, the proposed site for the BESS is located at the adjacent STEM Academy, construction site at 7641 East Michigan Street, Kalamazoo, Michigan 49048. Mr. Cates noted that the proposed project was the best design BESS he's ever seen. However, in his opinion, it is too close to the school currently being under construction. Given the nature of the proposed project design, if something were to go wrong, the incident should be contained. However, if the incident were not contained, it would become a big problem. Mr. Cates mentioned tornadoes, lightning, vandalism, and eco-terrorism as major concerns or threats to the BESS. He also stated that he supports BESS as a structure of alternative energy and states if the proposed site were a mile down the road, he'd have no issue with the project. The large amount of contained energy was the source of his concern. If there's an issue with the Jaguar substation, it can be addressed quickly by shutting down the power station completely. However, there is no such option for a BESS. Given Mr. Clay's clear, definitive report, Dr. Tanis urges the board to take an official position opposing the construction of the BESS site and notify local township of the decision, which they haven't, but they did send an email, and that was received. And at the end of the email, Dr. Tanis says, I'm open for conversation over coffee and meal to discuss, or I'm sorry, where did it go? It is the opinion of the board that they oppose the BESS in that current location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we know what you're gonna say.
Who, me?
It'll be exactly the same as last couple of months. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it won't. Oh, no, it won't, because I've been at these. We just don't need this BESS here. That's all there is to it. As far as that school site, I think a long time ago I told you I talked to somebody from Lansing. Evidently you guys didn't believe me. You better add more feet onto that because it's supposed to be 3,200 to 5,000 feet away from any structure. You can call them. I do have their number. I talked to Nessel, and they give me the stats on this. So, you know, if anybody needs the phone number, I'll be happy to give it to them. And I think the residents are the ones that should be voting on this, not just you guys, just like the tornado sirens. Haven't seen them yet neither. Like I said, there are some of you on the board that want to make money on this. Too bad, too sad, because not going to get it now. It did get turned down. We don't really need this. And the noise from this can also hurt our wildlife besides the people. The noise that Doc was talking about, I looked it up. It can also affect everybody and the environment. So please consider that. And please consider our kids don't need to be looking at this. They need to be looking at open fields with animals and stuff running in them. You do this, you're going to take all the nature away. You're going to scare it away if not by the plan itself. So stop and think about our children's future, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
My turn. Better start the clock over.
Hi, Mom.
say, Brian Noack, I don't have to do my address, right? Did we declare that last meeting, and we don't have to repeat the meeting and what you can't address and point out fingers? Okay, so maybe that's going to speed things up. I'm going to agree that there is a thing called subsonic noise. That is true. It does happen. It actually happens with high power lines, too. It's usually when they're at full generation. It causes just some sort of vibration. It actually can cause a retarded cell division, and that is true. Don't believe me if you want to. So if we get new early alert systems, watch me, I'm over here, will they chime into a release of, say, a fire at this station that we're concerned about? Or we'll have to buy some sort of connection with that, with the power company, I've heard it, Jaguar, whatever. We need to look into that. Let's find out if our early alert, which might be paid for by the tax gains from it, but will that help deter it? I mean, if we get those big old horns going on again, will they be chimed in with that early alert stuff? That's usually, I think it's just storms and stuff. I'm going to say yes, they probably do, but they might not, and there might be a cost there as well. I would think somebody should look into that just, for the sake of that. Because that's where we're kind of going with that thing too, to have that. That is a positive side on having that type of generated plant. There's a thing called the idiot factor. It actually is initials, what it costs to recover, what it costs to make. Nobody's talked about what that will make. It's not going to make a whole lot for us. It's going to make a whole lot for them. So the idiot factor is not that great for us at all. We're at probably maybe 70. They're going to be at like maybe 100, 170. So it's not, once they get going, it's not going to cost them jack squat down by the van in the river. Okay, so forward speaking, I'm trying to keep your attention. I hope you don't go in different directions like I do, but these are facts. These are things that actually happen. And our fire department has a pretty good way of, if a car hits the fence, such as we spoke of vandalism, tornadoes that may strike that building, that power grid, they're going to be moving people out of that school, you betcha, right now, because they're all about whatever. We call them hose humpers. They're going to be out there getting people out of there. So we don't have to really worry about that, and it will happen no matter what. Like I said, tornado, they might start going up there and getting kids ready to evacuate. Can you imagine that? I mean, you see what I see. There's pretty good reaction time with our fire department. So I don't necessarily think that's all the bad thing with having that plant.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Good thing to look out for.
Jeannie Kissinger, 322 Lawndale. The only thing I've got to say is Brian is, no, I wasn't going to say you were crazy. Anyways, his timing on getting those kids out of that school building, no, there's no way the fire department's going to get that amount of kids out and into buses. What are you going to do, have those buses sitting all lined up? I was a bus driver for 15 years. There is no way you're going to get those kids on that bus in 2 minutes. Absolutely no way. And if they're out on the playground, they're not going to listen to you anyways. And if they're middle school kids, they're liable to tell you which way to put it on top of everything else. So you're doing the wrong thing if you think you should put it there. And as for the tornadoes, an open field in a tornado, that's exactly where it's going to go. Because it's going to dip down off those houses. The only thing that's saved mine so far is the Kalamazoo River, because it's taken another turn. Otherwise, it would have taken my house and Dina's house and everybody's down there. So you got to think of that too. That tornado is going to come into that open field, destroy what's there, and you're not going to have time to do diddle. It doesn't matter about the fire department. Fire department can't do both at once. They can only be in so many places. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comment? If not, I'll close citizen comment for now, and we'll move on to new business. 8379 East Main. Kyle, you want to talk to that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Township Planning Department has received a request for a special land use for 8379 East Main Street. The applicant, Craig Howard, seeks to construct an 864 square foot accessory structure to replace an existing garage that is 576 square feet that was damaged by natural elements, so tree falling. The property is approximately 3.19 acres in size and located within the AGR Agricultural Zoning District. As most of the commission may be aware, for those sizes in the Ag District, you are permitted a certain ratio upwards for accessory structures based on the lot size itself. Anything over that permitted size it does have the ability to come before you as a special land use, which is why Mr. Craig is here for that, and along with the location provisions. So there are, again, considerations we use for the request for summaries. Our understanding is they're seeking to build a 24 by 36 size accessory structure. From there, there are considerations that the commission should look at. One, proposed accessory building shall not have a material adverse impact upon the owners and occupants of surrounding properties. All applications requiring a special exemption use or special land use hereunder shall be accompanied by so many copies, which was satisfied. And then application for a special use permit hereunder shall include a statement setting forth the purpose for which the proposed accessory building will be used. So we've gone through, again, our criteria for this, noted that one, proposed accessory building shall not have a material adverse impact based on the location of the structure in the photo here shown in the red. We do note it is along the property line. It is within, a certain setback distance, which is why they are seeking relief via special land use approval for that. Otherwise, I will, defer to the adjacent property owner if they feel it'd be any, adverse impact. However, since that structure has been here for some time, we believe that it would just be replacing again the existing structure. They have provided a site survey noting where in relation to the property line they are seeking. The black line here followed by the yellow cursor is the property line based on the survey. The red box is where the structure is looking to go. Here's another aerial imagery. Again, as benefit to the Planning Commission, the aerial you see here in the, it might be hard to tell, but the property lines, they are two different data sets through the county. So you will have an aerial that does not match the property boundary. So I do want to just advocate for that, that, it is not going through the garage. That is just the way the GIS system is able to stretch the photo across the entire county. So I do want to preface that, that is, there is that disclaimer when you use their GIS system that it's not survey accurate. So I wanted to clarify that. Location of any septics, we are asking that the dimensional locations of septic tanks and wells, be indicated, or the applicant, advise as to location of such utilities. We would, like to not see that built across. They have provided, a mock rendering as well, for the septic system on the well. We would just ask for clarity of how far away the structure will be from that. Septic systems are regulated through the county health department, not through us. Overall, again, lot size is permitted between 3 acres and 4.99 acres, a total of 3,000 square feet. There is an existing pole barn of 1,200 square feet, a shed of 120 square feet, a second shed of 80 square feet, and then the proposed garage at the 24 by 36 of 864. So the total proposed is the 2264, so they are under the permitted size. This is more based on the location of where they'd like to put it. So they are seeking the deviation or relief from our regulations. This is different than a variance because the ordinance does permit the Planning Commission to authorize alternative locations under a special land use permit. So I do want to clarify that as well. So overall, based on any comments received from the public, we do have some findings here. Proposed proposed structure is in a similar location to what was existing. The zoning ordinance requires structures greater than 200 square feet to be located away from the property boundary, a distance equal to the height of the structure. The structure is proposed to be 15 feet, so they would have to have a 15-foot setback. The application materials notes a setback of 3 feet, so they are seeking a 12-foot difference within this. The proposed structure and existing, meet the size requirements for accessory buildings. Property owner who shares the adjacent lot line included a letter of support indicating no anticipated impact. There are environmental factors preventing relocation of the garage, including presence of trees, utility lines, water well, and septic tank. So again, subject to any findings from the commission, any additional information from the applicant, and then subject to your public hearing, then you would want to deliberate on how you want to move forward.
Thank you, Kyle. I guess at this point, I would look for a motion to open public hearing on this matter.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing. Support.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are now open for public hearing on this matter.
Do you want to ask if the applicant wants to presentation?
Yeah, you want to talk to this, I guess, before we get into public hearing?
Yeah, so I'm Craig Howard, 8379 East Main, and Kyle, you covered it pretty good. It's going to go, I want it to go right back where it currently is located, and there's, I have a 135-foot long concrete driveway that goes right to it, and I'd rather not have to relocate that. And there's a power pole. I have a 5-foot diameter tree right next to it's 5 feet from my driveway. The other side of my house is my water well. Septic system's right behind the house. There's really not a good option to move this thing. It's going to go within a foot of where it is currently. My next door neighbor has provided a letter of approval for it. So that's my case.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll go into public hearing.
Put vending cards back there? I'm sorry.
I guess I'd go for a motion.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Support.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing's closed, and we're going to discuss this matter. Do you want to start us, Amber?
So remember, you would have to waive your bylaw if you wanted to decide tonight. So
right.
Keep that in mind. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I guess that's what we should first do, decide if we want to waive our bylaws or not.
I guess it depends on discussion.
Okay. Go ahead, Amber.
I think it's a pretty easy case. It makes sense to me to keep it in the same location. There's clearly, Kyle points it out for us, but there's clearly geographical issues in moving it that would create a problem. So yeah, environmental factors, to be specific, use Kyle's words. So yeah, I think I understand the situation, and I don't see any significant concerns, especially when we have a neighbor who's saying they don't have concerns either.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. The garage has been there 50 years. The house has been there for, I don't know how long, close to 100 maybe, but the conservatory building is right next door. All they use it for is office. The conservatory wraps all the way around it, so nobody's going to build on the conservatory. No one's going to build behind it to either side of it. So, I mean, it's cut and dry. The conservatory doesn't care about the setback, and it's going right back where it was. It's only going to be 12 feet longer. He's under specs for what he's allowed, so my opinion is, yeah, move it forward.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm good with it also. I see no need to cut trees down or alter a driveway. He's not altering the existing or the proposed building much different than the existing building, so.
Joe?
You know, this is clearly a situation of a non-conforming structure, and ordinarily if it was destroyed or damaged, it would not be rebuilt. But in this situation, I think this is an entirely reasonable request, and I have no problem seeing the building built back where it used to be.
Jim?
I'm all in favor of it. I understand the way it's drawn out in that. I know the neighbors gave a letter, is good with it, so I'm all for moving forward.
Sandy?
For me, I understand the rebuilding for the codes and such, and I am for this, but this kind of makes me like where we think we're moving with our ordinance for our accessory buildings, even though this is his detached garage. So I am good with it. And as far as moving forward with talking about if we're going to move it forward or not, I just have a quick question for Casey, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Casey, do you know when he came to you with this? Because I know the Planning Commission's been pretty loaded lately. If you had to push him back, I guess that was my question to you.
No, originally we thought it was going to be a variance that he had to pursue, but due to the 1 acre trigger in our ordinance, he was allowed to come in front of you all. So there was about a week or 2 week delay between when he applied to getting here. But overall, about 25 days lead time is needed for a special land use application.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I guess I would entertain a motion first if we want to bypass our bylaws and move it ahead.
I'll make a motion, we waive our bylaws and send it to the township board.
Support.
We're going to do a roll call.
First of all, I think the motion is just to waive your bylaw and let you act on it tonight, because it's just a special use, it's not a zoning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, thank
We'll do a roll call.
Gotcha, I can do that. Okay. Do we need Catherine to explain what yeses and?
Oh, yes, okay. I was looking at James, happy he wasn't doing the roll call.
What happened?
Okay.
The secretary?
So yes vote is yes, we agree to waive the bylaw and take action on this request tonight.
All right, Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Weintraub?
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Commissioner Kreitzer?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, so now we're going to move it forward to
We have to vote on that.
voting on it.
Want a motion on that?
I need
I'll
one.
make a motion that we move it to the township board for approval.
It's not the township.
No, that you approve the special use.
That we approve the special
Yes.
use.
And I'll support that. Was that your motion, Bub?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That was just a little backwards.
Let's do a roll call again.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, let me say
Yeah.
again.
Never done
Sandy
this
gave
before.
To approve, if you vote yes, you're voting to approve his request for the special use for the garage to go right back in the same location as depicted on his application and as discussed tonight.
All right, Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Weintraub?
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Commissioner Kreitzer?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is old business, and this is 2591 South 33rd Street. Kyle, do you have anything to say about this? We saw it once before.
I do not believe I have any additional comments at this time. This was on the 24th, correct? So during my absence, I would defer to Casey if there's any, if she doesn't mind anything additional for this.
Okay.
A resident did stop by earlier this week and requesting that I kick over some pictures up to you all of the coop and of the chickens. I emailed those to you earlier this morning, a little bit late, so sorry for that. That's the only thing I have to add to this.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'll open it up for discussion. We'll start with Sandy this time.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, first off, the paperwork that's on our desk when we got here, and that is from whom? Joe?
Joe.
Okay, all right, I would like a chance to read this over because I just want to see where we're at with the state on this.
And could I say something here? I appreciate any information that anybody brings, but could you bring it soon enough so it could be in our packet, so we could all digest it?
I just want to mention, I think this is also about your discussion about chicks, so not only about this rezoning request, okay, but about chickens, which are later on in your agenda item.
Right.
And this is just a proposed House bill. It's not not law yet, but that we can have discussion on what the what the parameters are in this new House bill. So whether or not you think it applies to this application for rezoning, that's what you have to decide, but we will discuss it in addition on a later agenda item.
Thank you. Sandy?
Okay. I know that we are looking at,
3 weeks ago. Exactly the same request.
Joe.
I know that we are looking at the ordinance for changing how many chickens everyone can have. But with this particular instance, I am very concerned. There are still too many chickens. I see a lot of violations with this parcel right now. And I guess for the resident to come forward and ask for a change, I would like to see the violations taken care of before I would consider moving forward with any of this. I just think that there's too much work to be done on this property for the health of those animals from what I've seen in the pictures.
Jim?
I agree with what Sandy just said, 100%. I feel that there's too many violations. It's been going on. The property's not maintained. The animals aren't maintained. And I, for right now, cannot move forward with this.
Joe?
There's a certain irony here, I think. This request is almost identical to one that we addressed, I think, 3 weeks ago. We had a residential property that was surrounded by residences, and they requested rezoning to agricultural. The Planning Commission voted 6-1 to approve that rezoning, and apparently felt that, again, based on the future land use plan, I believe, they felt that all of the uses were compatible with the surrounding properties. How is this request different from that? We have a residential property that is surrounded with other residential properties, but the future land use plan says that it's supposed to be agricultural. The request to rezone has nothing to do with chickens or how the property is being used now, but how it could be used in the future. When the request was made by the former property, the applicant said, oh, I want to put in a butterfly garden, and I want to build a pond, and I'll never have roosters. And we approved, the rezoning request was approved. I believe that when we have a rezoning request, we should be focused on what the future uses could be, regardless of who the owner is. So I wonder how we can be consistent and fair to everyone if we approved a rezoning that was almost identical to this in its principles and deny this one today. I was opposed to the former rezoning because the residential neighborhood that surrounded that property was very well established and was very densely residential. And while the applicant said I won't have cows and I won't have roosters. Once it's agricultural, she can have cows and roosters. Now, this property, when I visited it, is actually much less developed as a neighborhood than the one we previously rezoned. But I understand the concerns of the Planning Commission, and as I opposed the last rezoning, I would be able to oppose this one too, so.
Greg?
So I'm looking at this as two different issues. The chickens is a different issue than the request here. I'm looking at future land use, the master plan. That's the way I'm looking at this. In our future land use, it says agriculture, the master plan. I mean, we developed a plan. If we want to alter these things, we should alter the master plan and take a good look at the master plan. Thank you.
Bob?
Well, and I looked at it as what the master plan said in the land use for 2030, and I didn't look at it as the chicken part. It was only the rezoning of the land. So, which, going with the maps and everything, I mean, this is, permissible here, and that's what they're looking for in all the areas around it in the future. As far as chicken goes, I said, we're working on an ordinance for that tonight, but that's basically residential about the chickens. So, but if we're looking at just the rezoning for the land, you almost got to leave chickens out of it right now.
Amber?
This is a really tough one, because I agree that it's important to stay consistent. And so from a rezoning request and it matching our master plan, that part in its own compartmentalized state feels like an easy answer based on kind of how we landed before. I do have concerns about the chickens, and that's a separate issue. I think that it doesn't appear that we're following the generally accepted agricultural management practices as they're outlined in the Michigan Right to Farm Act or anything else. So I guess my question, Attorney Kaufman, is that is this property, if rezoned to agriculture, it's still currently, because we have been told these are pets, right? Therefore, their own egg consumption for the home. That's what the homeowner told us last time. They would still be required to follow our ordinance. Is that correct?
Yeah. So only if you're in commercial agricultural production and in compliance with any GAMP, which is a generally accepted agricultural management practice. In this case, it would be site selection, it would be animal care. Mm-hmm. Can you assert the Right to Farm Act as a defense in order to be allowed to deviate from local zoning? So if in fact these are raised for their own use, that's not commercial production, they would have to follow our own zoning ordinances regarding chickens, no matter what zoning district they were in, okay? So keep that in mind. This is two separate issues. The zoning application is in front of you, and again, I want to make sure everyone understands you only make a recommendation to the township board. The township board would ultimately decide on the rezoning application, whatever way they decide. So yeah, you have to keep that separate. The rezoning component has to follow the principles you've discussed. And then dealing with the chickens, whether through your local ordinance or, if somebody was unsatisfied, they could make a complaint to the Michigan Department of Ag, Right to Farm Act office, and they will come down and inspect those chickens and then determine whether it's compliance or not. So those are the two options, but as you say, if they did say they're for their own use, then they cannot assert the Right to Farm Act.
Great, thank you. So just for everyone's awareness, just because we rezone this doesn't mean they can have unlimited chickens. It will be dependent on whatever we might change on the ordinance, however, so just something to keep in mind.
Right, and also keep in mind, if somebody is concerned, we can report it, or they can make a complaint directly to the Department of Ag, or the township can make a complaint, and they will come down and inspect the condition of the chickens and how close they are to other non-farm residences. So that's an option.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so right now, residential is 6 chickens, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So if we rezone this to ag, what's the ordinance on that at this point?
6 chickens.
I don't believe it's 6 chickens.
So as we just went through, because they are not in commercial agricultural production, our ordinance would apply, our township ordinance, okay?
Okay.
So however it's 6 chickens now, whatever you change that to, however you might change that, it would still apply. If they go into commercial agricultural production, then they may, and I say may, there's a lot of requirements, be able to assert the Right to Farm Act, which gives different protections, but also have different requirements as well.
Catherine, our chicken ordinance is residential only.
Is it residential zoning districts only?
Let me see. In our ordinance on page 53 of our packet,
I was thinking.
it says, under letter B, it says, is permitted as accessory to the residential use. So,
Residential use?
Yes.
Is he living in his house?
yes, he is. Okay.
Okay. That clears that up.
Okay, my feeling on this matter, and we set up our zoning, or our future map of how we want the township to be, and this falls within that area. Yes, I did visit the site, and I was shocked at chickens running around everywhere. But that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about whether we want to go from residential to zoning, or to agricultural. And I guess if we set it up to be a future ag area, we were looking at that becoming an agriculture area. So I guess we should either decide if we're going to keep to our future plan or not. And that's really where I stand on it.
I have a question. If we interpret the chicken ordinance then to apply to any zone if it's a residence, then his request, which was based on wanting to increase the number of chickens, is a moot point. I mean, even if we did rezone it AGR.
Yeah, so that's a fair point. The chicken ordinance says it applies to, is accessory to residential use. Is that what it's saying? Something, could you read it again, please?
Basically, okay, the keeping of up to 6 chickens that are utilized exclusively by the persons occupying a single-family dwelling as a locally grown food source for the consumption of eggs or meat is permitted as accessory to the residential use if all the following are satisfied.
Okay, so the only way you take yourselves out of that is if in your commercial agricultural production and you're in compliance with all applicable generally accepted agricultural management practices, which, the state of Michigan will read that statute very broadly, but there are I'm going to say under the site selection GAMP, your animal containment area has to be 250 feet away from any other non-farm residence, and you can't, and if there's more than 13 non-farm residents within an 1/8 of a mile circle. So there are distancing requirements, okay? So in this particular case, because we understand he's not raising the chickens for commercial production, he's raising them for his own family's use, the Right to Farm Act is not going to apply. Your own ordinance is going to apply because these would be chickens that are being kept as part of the residential use, as she just read, for their own egg consumption and things like that. So so what I think you're saying, I think what Joe is getting at is, does he even need to rezone?
I do have a question, Catherine. On page 54 of our packet, under letter 10, it says, "This section shall not regulate the keeping of chickens in those areas where farming is permitted principal use or special land use." So I think that kind of just contradicted that.
Yeah, there is a conflict there. See, between those two sections of the ordinance. So you're gonna, I know this ordinance is next on the agenda or somewhere on this agenda for tonight, so we need to look at resolving that conflict. You know, because this is the very issue that a lot of people have problems with. If you are only raising, this is when you get with 4-H animals with your kids, or you get for, I have horses for my own use. It's exactly where you get to, you know, can I regulate that through my local zoning? And you can, okay? But the minute it flips over into commercial agricultural production and compliance with the GAMPs, then the Right to Farm Act arguably applies. And what the Michigan Department of Ag will do is they will, you know, a lot of times they're not even, sometimes they'll come down here, but sometimes they don't. But they will look at the house and how far, where is the animal containment area on the property? Is it at least 250 feet away from anyone else's house? And is it, how many houses are within an 1/8 of a mile? And in some cases, then, that means you're not even eligible for animal care or to have animals at all because it's too dense. Now, I understood there's like 3-acre lot out here or something, so there may be a way that this could be done on this lot, maybe not where it's being done right now, but then you'd have to have the trigger of commercial agricultural production, which we understand is not the case here.
So does that like completely
Well, your two sections of this ordinance conflict, because one says you can, it doesn't apply where farming is a permitted use or a special land use. And then somewhere else it says, my ordinance applies if you have a residential use. So you can have a residential use in an ag area, you can have a residential use in an area where ag is permitted. So we have a little bit of a conflict in our ordinance that we would probably want to resolve.
Okay. Any other discussion before we move on?
No, unless you have questions for me.
No?
I have a question.
Okay.
And it pertains to the chickens, okay? But I'm just curious if this property owner has a permit for these chickens. Because when I sit here and I look at the pictures, and I did go out to the property, I don't see that even if he had a permit, why he would have one, because some of the things were not met.
Yes, I can answer that. So how this process began is Dakota, our ordinance officer, received a complaint from a neighbor regarding the number of chickens, the roosters, the fact they were kind of free-ranging. Dakota went out there, issued a ticket, and gave them like 14 days to take care of it. They then said what could be done, and it is my job as administrator to give all the options, and how I perceived the ordinance was ag, you can do that, but however, they are in violation of our accessory structures and other things, so that was kind of put on pause until the rezone is figured out.
Okay.
And so if this rezone, however this goes, we will then begin issuing violations or tickets and figuring out how to get them into compliance with our chicken ordinance.
Thank you for that, because I think that the residents that are here that live next to them that are concerned, I think they needed to hear that, because I was questioning that myself. And with them being here, I hope that they're understanding what's happening up here, because it's kind of confusing. So I would like for Larry or Catherine or even Kyle or yourself to kind of explain to them where we're at with this one more time and maybe put it in simpler terms.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I'm gathering here is, first, is there's a few separate issues, as the commission has mentioned. One, there's the enforcement issue, which is a separate entity entirely from your application request here. Now, based on the findings in your deliberations tonight, we find that, you know, the ordinance states if you are a residential use, family dwelling, you can have up to 6 chickens. So it may be prudent then to ask the applicant, do they wish to still proceed with the rezoning, knowing that, this provision 4.12B exists? If they wish to proceed, then we can continue deliberation. If they do not wish to proceed with the rezoning based on our chicken ordinance, then maybe they would seek to nullify their application at this time. So that might be a prudent question to ask the applicant as well.
But our chicken ordinance is unclear.
Right.
Farming is certainly permitted in AGR.
Yes.
Correct.
Would you like to speak to us about this, sir?
Hello, my name is Mohammed. Actually, when the last time I was here, I'm listening to all you guys about the violation. Honestly, when I applied for it, took every gun stop holds. So I want to know the rules, fully understand everything. So which you guys see the violation, I'm obviously going to finish it and make it work. I had a 8-foot boundary first, then I was told to reduce it. So I didn't know how much to reduce it. I removed the 4 feet off the top and keep it 4 feet. So I had to begin with was 8 feet. So then I was somebody over there, visit over there to see that's too much. So I removed the 4 feet off the top. So if I know the actual height, 6 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot, I can go up to that and keep it in that one.
The ordinance is online. You can look it up under Comstock Township.
Casey, can you speak to the fact that where the animals are located now, that's probably not a good location according to this ordinance, is that correct?
I would have to verify where they're located. I don't know exactly on their lot where they are. Are they 5 feet away from the side setback?
I don't know.
I don't know. So when the rezone began.
Right now it says coop and pen shall be 10 feet from all side and rear lot lines, a minimum of 30 feet from the nearest wall of adjacent dwelling. A coop and pen located, waterfront or whatever. So there are specific requirements.
Yes, they would also need to basically fix their coop. The biggest reason we kind of stopped the violations and put it on pause until the rezone is because we need to know if they need to get rid of 20 chickens or not. Right. And then that would decide the coop size and all that. So that's why we didn't require them to adjust their coop or their fencing, because we don't know how many chickens they're allowed to have until this rezone, because how we read this is that in ag, the number of chickens is not really regulated as we do residential. But no, currently they would not be complying with our coop requirements, and that would be a separate item tackled later by me and Dakota.
Casey, could you get him a copy of the ordinance?
The chicken ordinance?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Do we have somebody who is successful at this, who follows the rules, that maybe he could be introduced to help him?
Well, if he's, I guess if he, yes, I guess if he is rezoned, we wouldn't need to follow the residential ordinance. We would need to follow, would we need to follow the coop then, the coop regulations? Because I think 90 square feet is the max. So I wasn't sure where to go until this is.
So if he is rezoned and he is using the chickens for his own family, we have a conflict in our ordinance, because the ordinance says if it's a residential use, which it is, then it's 6 chickens. But somewhere else it says if it's in an area zoned for ag, you don't have to follow with 6. So I think first of all, I think we need to just stop talking about the chickens for a minute and talk about the rezoning requests, because you do need to make a recommendation on that tonight, and it will go forward to the board, whichever way you recommend. It will still go forward to the township board, and they will make the final decision. And then, thereafter, whatever comes of that decision by the township board will be how we proceed with the chickens on this property. Additionally, if people want to stay longer tonight, then we will be discussing in even more detail the chicken ordinance and maybe talking about how we eliminate the conflict that's built in here. I'll just say, I do a lot of Right to Farm Act litigation on behalf of municipalities. The state of Michigan will permit agricultural animals in any zoning district if you're in commercial production and you can satisfy the GAMPs. So, it could be in the middle of a subdivision if they can meet that 250-foot setback for the animal containment area and not more than 13 non-farm houses in 1/8 of a mile. So we need to understand that this Michigan Right to Farm Act is a very strong law in favor of agriculture, and it's applied when the Michigan Department of Agriculture applies it and makes inspections, they are predisposed to favor the farmer. So even though, we may have ordinances in place, it's another example of where state law can essentially preempt or to some extent preempt our local zoning controls. And the difficult part is to understand how far they preempt us and in what cases. So this is one case where, depending on, we already know he's raising them for his family. At that point, he cannot assert the Right to Farm Act as a defense. Or from zoning violation, defense against a zoning violation, I should say. But it also, we need to clarify how our own ordinance would apply in situations where somebody's in an agricultural area, but they're not involved in commercial agriculture.
Thank you, Catherine. So, do you want to proceed with this tonight, or where do you?
We have no choice. We've tabled it once.
Oh, okay.
We have an application, we have to take action, and that will, then move forward to the township board. If the applicant at any point wants to withdraw his application, he can let, the township board know, or the township clerk. But
Okay.
you have it on your agenda for tonight.
Then I would look for a motion. Yes, a motion to recommend.
The rezoning?
Yes.
Or to not recommend, either way.
Yeah.
Or not, whichever way you want to say it.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we recommend the rezoning. I feel we have to do that first and move on with the ordinances after that point.
I'll support.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
Catherine?
Oh, sorry, I was asleep at the switch. If you vote yes, you are voting to send a recommendation of approval for the rezoning to the township board. If you vote no, you are opposed to the recommendation of approval.
Okay. Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes.
Commissioner Weintraub?
No.
Chair Nichols?
Yes.
Commissioner Kreitzer?
No.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Motion passes with 4 yeas and 3 nays.
So that everyone understands, this will now go to the township board. They have a meeting Monday night, right?
We won't make it.
Oh, okay, won't make it there. So the next meeting after August 18th. The township board has to have 2 readings on any ordinance. So everybody's free to come to that meeting, the next one after August 18th.
Yes.
I don't know, do you know when it is, Andy?
I can look real quick.
And then, again, express whatever feelings you have on that, and the board will ultimately make a decision.
The next township board meeting isn't until September 15th at 6 p.m. here in this room.
Okay.
On the chicken ordinance.
Okay, we're going to look at the chicken ordinance.
Okay, I dropped it back in here with no strikeouts or red amendments because we kind of left off on a spot where people still wanted to brainstorm. So that's all I have for my part.
Before we begin, Mr. Chair, I just have a question for Attorney Kaufman. So to be clear and transparent, I have chickens, I have a large parcel zoned agriculture, and I do sell my eggs locally. So I want to disclose that and find out if it's a conflict of interest or not before we have further discussion.
Generally, when it is a general zoning ordinance change that would affect everybody across the township, it's not a conflict of interest. I don't remember exactly, hit me to the wall, exactly what your bylaws say on conflict of interest. So I don't know if we have those anywhere in front of us, but I do not think it's a conflict, but if you'll pull out your.
I think that I think that it's just needs to be disclosed, and if anyone feels like it's a conflict, then there can be a vote. I think if I recall correctly,
Okay.
that's.
I do not feel it's a conflict, but if the planning commission, someone feels that is, you can make a motion,
Does anybody
second and
object?
vote.
No.
I see no conflict.
Okay. You can stay, Amber.
Thanks, guys.
Just be good.
Okay. I guess I'll turn it over to Casey, and you can talk about where we left off.
We kind of left off on deciding the triggers for acreage, and Commissioner Weintraub did provide a House bill that I believe Catherine will speak further on, and he also wrote up a document sharing his opinions as far as acreage and hen count, if he wants to take the reins on that one.
I think that, you want to talk to that, Joe?
Yeah, first I apologize, Mr. Chairman, and to the rest of you that I did not get this prepared quickly enough. I should have tried to do that. There is a proposed Michigan statute that, if it is enacted, would preempt local zoning from making restrictions about chickens in residential areas. But it's a proposed ordinance, and I've outlined it in what you have there, and you can look at it. I wanted to make you familiar with it because it contains a formula for how many chickens you can have, and it is based on how large a residential lot you have. So I sort of used the pattern of that formula, but I changed a bunch of the numbers because I didn't feel that those numbers were necessarily appropriate for our township. But my proposed numbers are really arbitrary, and they're open to discussion. It's not that I'm invested in those numbers. I just think that we do want to adjust the number of chickens you can have by the size of the property that you have. I'll quickly go through my notes, and then I thought I'd like to go through the existing ordinance and mention the areas that I highlighted that I would like to see changed, and then we can go into a deeper discussion. Anyway, the proposed state ordinance allows chickens on quarter-acre lots. I don't think we have a restriction on the size of lots currently, but I'm proposing that we have a minimum lot size of perhaps a half an acre. I would hate to see people keeping chickens in a dense subdivision like some of the ones we have, where you have a 60 or 80 foot lot. But again, that's just my opinion. We currently have a maximum of 6 hens regardless of how big a property you have. And what I was proposing was that for parcels up to 1 acre, we keep the same sort of fixed requirement, 6 chickens or whatever we decide is a reasonable limit for up to 1 acre lot. But for properties that are larger than that, I've sort of adapted the state's proposed formula and said that for each additional half acre, you could have an additional 2 hens, up to a maximum, again, of 25, which is the same maximum that we have now. Then if you don't mind, if the chairman will allow me, I'd like to go through our existing ordinance and just mention the areas that I think I would like to see changed.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Roosters are not permitted. I would like to see that removed, but I will address that further down. It goes on to say keep up to 6 chickens on a non-commercial basis. And again, that would be changed to some sort of formula based on lot size. 6 chickens is mentioned again in paragraph B, and that would again refer to the formula based on the size of your parcel. Down in section 2, part B, it says a maximum of 7 foot height on the coop or pen. I think that's, if you have 10 chickens, you're going to want a coop large enough to walk into and maintain. It's probably going to be a fixed coop, so it should be at least 7 or 8 feet, tall. I think a maximum of 7 feet is just not practical. Some reasonable height restriction if we feel that's necessary. We don't want a 2-story chicken coop, but 7 feet is too restrictive. And then the maximum of 90 square feet, again, would have to be referenced to the number of chickens you have. There would have to be some sort of sliding scale based on lot size. Paragraph C is okay. I didn't understand why the pen was covered, but that's just the permanent enclosure, and so that needs to have a top on it. Item 3, the feed items and stuff, I think that a proper container for all feed products could be mandated. Metal garbage cans make great feed containers and keep out rats and vermin. So we could maybe put some standards in there. It says shall be kept, to avoid infestations by rats and mice. So proper containers are the solution to that. And now down in number 7, this is where I will mention again the rooster ban. Roosters can be, a noise problem. And we state in here that the accessory use comply with all ordinances of the township pertaining to noise, odors, dust, fumes, sanitation, and health. And I believe that would cover any complaints that we had for roosters. If we enforce the noise ordinance, if there are complaints and we measure the decibel level at the property line, we can control roosters that way and not necessarily outlaw them. Because again, if you have a large enough property and your containment is 250 feet or 500 feet from the nearest neighbor, I don't feel it's necessary to outlaw them. We currently have a permit that's required. What is the fee on that? $25, and that's a one-time fee. Okay.
I can bring an application as well, and part of the application request how will they keep feed so that pests don't get in, and also once the coop is constructed, our ordinance officer goes out to inspect to verify that it is indeed meeting our setback requirements and the standards of our ordinance.
And in regards to noise control, roosters are considered a nuisance. Well, personally, a lawnmower, a garden tractor, a large motorcycle or truck, a barking dog can be just as annoying and just as much a nuisance as a rooster. We certainly don't outlaw dogs. A dog can bark all night long.
All day.
All day and all night long. All of us have experienced that. So I'm not sure why roosters have to be singled out, but I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of agreement on that one. And the last comment I would make is, in addition to adjusting our chicken ordinance, which I think we all agree needs some work, I would like to see us consider special use or accessory use provisions for other types of small animal husbandry on large-sized residential properties. This could include geese, ducks, rabbits, llama, goats, ? So, I would at least like to have us have a discussion of that for these larger. We have a lot of large residential properties, and I think that we could accommodate people utilizing some of these things without creating problems for neighbors.
Okay. Any further discussion? Bob?
Yeah, the one on the half-acre lot, 6 chickens on we got a lot of people in the community that have 6 chickens that don't have half-acre lots. And I don't think that half-acre lot is correct.
Okay.
I just think, you know, if it's a lot, it's a residential lot.
Do we want any kind of minimum at all?
I don't know how you can do that. You have a lot of lots that might be just under a quarter acre, just over a quarter acre. It's, you know, and there's a lot of people that have chickens that don't have them large lots. I mean, down here in Comstock, some of these lots are only 60, 80 feet wide, but they might be, you know, 110, 150 feet long. So it's, I don't know. I don't.
Are there many chickens down there?
In Comstock? Oh, I'm sure. Casey could probably tell you.
Yes, I get a lot of permits. Rye stock is down there, right?
Yeah.
Rye stock,
Yeah,
Comstock
right over
Ave.
here off of Comstock Ave.
Oh, yes, I have received, I would say chicken permits mostly in this Comstock Ave, Rye stock, Rex. There's been a lot of permits that I've been signing in that area over here.
I think there's a lot of them up behind the old adult ed, up behind the old football fields and stuff up in the Shields Plat. So, and you know, then you get over to Berry, Sunnycrest, and over in that area, you're getting a lot of them over there too. So I don't think you can put a half-acre lot on there. I don't even know if you should put a quarter-acre lot. If people are taking care of them and following the rest of the ordinance, I'm not really.
If you're not getting complaints, it's probably not an issue.
I'm not concerned about the size of that lot. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Amber?
Yeah, I did some homework. So, you know, even the city of Detroit, as of January 31st, 2025, allows 8 hens. So I guess I would just say I don't think we should reduce the number of hens or impact anybody that might currently be able to have them and take them away. An interesting example, Independence Charter Township, under 3 acres is allowed up to 4. Again, I don't think that 4 is the number since we already allow 6. But, and then over 3 acres, there's no limit. You know, so I think there's a wide range of what we can do in terms of quantity. And I do agree to some extent on larger lots if the chickens are well cared for. I don't know that the quantity necessarily matters too much. I do agree with Joe about the height of the coop. I can tell you as somebody who cleans a coop, being able to walk into it is really important, and what we're trying to preserve is cleanliness and the ability to care for these birds. And so having enough height that you can get into comfortably without being stooped over, and that you can maneuver things around, and you're talking about moving you know, perches and things which are often large, long boards, poles, right? And so to be able to move one of those in or out of the coop, to clean under it, to clean that perch, you need some room a little bit. And again, I'm talking about for a larger quantity of birds, but I would hate to see us restrict the coop size down so much and then try to allow for more birds on a larger parcel that we counteract what we're trying to accomplish. Joe, I have a similar opinion about roosters. I wonder if it has to do with lot size and setbacks on allowance of a rooster or something like that, where we could still preserve an area that's close to a home that, you know, maybe that's not the right place to have a rooster, but in a place where there's more space, is it something that we have to say no to?
I would like to see it be complaint driven. You know, that's the fairest way. If the neighbors are annoyed, and if in fact the noise is excessive, then it should be forbidden. But if it isn't creating a problem, people should have that option.
How do we write that in?
So for having done enforcement for some years with chickens, it is a extremely challenging position to even validate the concerns of a rooster. Most of the time, enforcement officers are directly on a public street or public sidewalk. To enter into a property, out for Attorney Kaufman on here, but most of the time to validate a concern, you have to see it from the public right of way in that regard. For us to then now go in and regulate roosters based on a noise complaint is going to be extremely challenging, because one, if the resident or the neighbor calls in, 5 o'clock on a Friday, well, the enforcement officer may not be out till Monday. That rooster could be, a few properties over. I'm not invalidating concerns from residents of roosters. I'm just saying the practical challenge of enforcing the roosters through noise, health, and concerns is extremely difficult.
It would be very hard, as it is with a barking dog case, to take a noisy rooster case into court and win. That's all I'm going to say. It might logically think we could possibly do that. I'm just going to tell you it would be very hard. I have successfully done one barking dog case, but only because the neighbor had videos. The police came out with a decibel reader. I mean, you have to have everything hit exactly right. And then even then, the judge is going to look at you like, are you nuts? Why are you bringing this here? So keep in mind, we might, think it would be easy to enforce rooster noise through a noise ordinance, but in practicality, I think that would be challenging.
And that's where I wonder if, property size or setbacks is the direction to go versus particularly noise. The only thing I will also add is if you know anything about chickens, they can change genders. So a hen can become a rooster. So I think just something to keep in mind too in the world of chickens. So just look, we're going to throw all the complications in tonight. But moral of the story is I would be probably, the way I've kind of chewed through this and looked at other ordinances and things, I would probably be in favor of saying hey, here's our limit at 6, and then per every acre or something to that effect, that limit would then increase by whatever the allotment is. That would be my proposal.
Amber, do you have a recommendation on the coop size by chance? Are you thinking a ratio? Do you not want to regulate it? From someone who is the practical experience of this.
Yeah, I would not want to regulate it if I'm really honest about it. I think that if you can provide more space for birds in your property size reasonably, if we think about it like an accessory dwelling or something to that effect, I think that's probably the more reasonable way to consider it versus thinking about it exclusively for chickens.
So
Can't it be covered by our accessory structure limitations?
It is. Yeah, that's what I mean, not dwelling,
Wouldn't
but
we
yes,
consider that an
structure.
accessory structure if it's fixed?
Because I think that
it is an accessory structure.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to say about our setbacks on our ordinance for accessory structures. That if it's over 200 feet, then that eliminates the 5 feet setback. And then you take it to the peak of whatever yeah, because that leads us into the next thing we're going to talk about tonight. And then our fence ordinance are 6 feet, and what are the coops made out of? I mean, if they're fencing material, does that change?
And I would tell you the reason that I think about the structure size is a lot of folks these days are going towards the pre-manufactured sheds for coops. They make a great coop and they look nice. They satisfy a lot of things from a standpoint of maybe somebody who doesn't have the chickens nearby, right? Like somebody who's looking at the property, but they're also, they build them. Literally, you can get conversion to a chicken coop on any one of those sheds. And so, again, quantity of chickens, winters, keeping them safe. If we don't want chickens free ranging, then we want them to have space to have a good habitat to live in. So I think there's a lot of things to consider there.
Because right now, the ordinance caps it at 90 square feet.
Good anymore.
So that's why I'm asking Amber if it would be beneficial to maybe look at it from the commission standpoint of, setbacks, as you have alluded to otherwise.
Yeah, I think another structure, just, create or treat it like another building on the property. And
So quick Google search, you need at least 4 square feet of space per chicken inside of a coop. That's what's recommended. And an additional 8 to 10 square feet per chicken in an outdoor run. So again, if you're talking about, like, as you're thinking about size of chickens, quantity of chickens, like that's what's the recommended. And again, that's dependent on breed too. You get larger breed birds, you want to give them a little more space. Smaller breed birds is 2 to 3 feet per chicken.
So 6 chickens would be 240 square feet.
Cool.
24, yeah. Yeah, 6 times 4 would be 24. Yeah,
24 square feet.
24.
But then bigger run. The run would be whatever she said.
Correct, 8 to 10 square feet per chicken in the outdoor run.
So with 6 chickens in the coop, we were at 84 square feet. Our ordinance permits 90. So we're a little above the.
Yeah, our coop size is okay for 6, but as soon as we increase, we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, 25 chickens would be 100 square feet, and that would be a minimum, really. There needs to be room for the human to get in there and maneuver and again, store food and stuff like that. I don't see a reason to, again, we don't want a 2-story, 3,000 square foot chicken house, but I think it's unnecessary, I feel, to restrict this too much.
Okay, Sandy, any comments?
Yeah, of course.
Chicken lady.
So I think that some of us might be forgetting that we're talking about residential. We're talking about the size of the residence lots. And I sit here and I have chickens all around me. I have roosters all around me. And this board can sit up here and our ordinance officer can say, call and complain. Who in their right mind wants to call and turn in their neighbors? I do not, and I have not. And so I can sympathize with the people sitting in this audience, how they feel. I'm in the same boat, but I haven't called to complain. I have chickens that are not in the pen. They're completely out by the road. I have roosters all around me, and yet I don't want to complain because I want to be able to live next to my neighbors. And I think where some of you are headed, I think is just a little too much for residents. If they are having chickens to feed their family, and I think the average household is 2.1 or 3 people in the household nowadays. How many chickens do you need to feed yourselves? I, for one, love it being in the industry I am in, because you're not buying eggs and they're better for me than it's cheaper, because supply and demand. So I just really would like all of you to take a step back. I know you're gung-ho on increasing the size, but please think about the ordinance officer and the neighbors that don't want to be around these chickens once you change this ordinance. And no on the roosters. I agree with legal counsel here. We don't have time to play with that. We have more things to worry about than a rooster complaint in this township. So as far as the size of the coop, now even with 6 chickens, I don't have a problem with that going a little larger for the chickens, or the run even. But as far as keeping them covered, if you don't keep them sealed, you're going to lose your chickens. It's just a fact. So I guess if you want the fox and the coyote or whatever, the raccoons, to eat your chickens, then don't follow the rules. But I really see a lot of people not following the rules. And those of us who live by those people are frustrated, and we're very frustrated. So please keep that in mind when you're thinking about increasing the amount of chickens. How many do they really need? How many do you really need to feed your family for an average household? It sure can't be 25 if there's 4 of you even in the house. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. Jim?
Well, this is single family, and I feel that it should be kept at 6 chickens. I feel that that's enough for a family, or have enough eggs. Going by size of the pen, I mean, I agree it should be covered. I agree that, you know, it should be a minimum square feet, a minimum height. I know I kind of think what you're saying, Amber, because if you're tall or whatever, 7 feet might be kind of hard if you're 6 feet or taller right there. So I think the maximum height could be maybe 8 feet, 9 feet, but I feel that that would be it. But the square feet in a run, I figure there should be at least 100 square feet. That would be enough area for there. Roosters, I agree, they're noisy. And I do know about motorcycles and dogs barking and tractors and all that stuff and noise, but it's something we have to live with because it's, I'm just gonna say, part of life. That's all I got to say.
Greg?
Nothing.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? So to Sandy's point, right, that we're talking specifically about residential, I think that's something that we have to look at in the ordinance then, because I agree that I think, you know, like in my mind, okay, I bite, right? Like that makes sense to me. But as our ordinance is written today, it conflicts of whether it is also including ag space. So I guess that would be the other question for us to all consider is, do we build this specifically for residential only and we outline it as such, or do we have different stipulations for an ag zoned property, which to me would make sense?
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Go ahead.
So looking at section 10, and I pulled that up here, as Attorney Kaufman indicated, there's conflict. You know, this section shall not regulate the keeping of chickens in those areas where farming is a permitted principal use. Sitting here listening to your concerns and others that have been raised by, you know, members of the public, I want to put this out there for the commission to think about over time is what if you modify this to say where farming is the use on the property, not a permitted use, but it is the principal use. So it means it's the active use of the subject site.
I have an immediate opinion and it's 100% biased, so I'll just preface it by saying that. But listen, as a kid that grew up in 4-H and FFA, one of the things that was important to me in selecting my home was having one that was in an agricultural area so that if my son chooses to do those things, he has the ability to do that. And so I do think, again, on a larger parcel property, I don't know how many people are exclusively farming on their land. Like, farmers make no money, guys. They make no money. So I don't know. But anyway, I'll just throw that out there.
I do think we should look at maybe a sliding scale with a minimum acreage to start with. You know, I mean, I'm not saying the places downtown, you know, we're going to change any of that, but I think once they get above a certain number of acres, they should be able to have more than 6 chickens if they want. That's my only feeling. I don't know anything about chickens. I don't have any, never have, and probably never will, but.
Yeah, I think.
I heard Amber.
Field trip.
I heard Amber mention an idea earlier that every acre we can increase the amount. So maybe if we had 5 acres, you could allow maybe 2 extra chickens and a sliding scale like that. So if you have 15 chickens, you're allowed, what, 9 chickens? I don't know if we want to go that way. But yeah, Amber mentioned that. That's pretty interesting.
I'm for that, but I guess I would ask the board what they think. Sandy?
I'd like to hear what Catherine was.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Catherine.
No, I was just saying to Kyle, you know, you could list, and this gets cumbersome, but the zoning districts where the chicken ordinance applies, right? R1, R2, R1C, R1, whatever, list them. And then in the other districts, you know, and then you change this ordinance, say in AGR or whatever else we want to say, this is allowed or something like that. You can do that. Now, I know that every case is different. We have large lots in the R1A. So I don't know if that's the best way to go. It's just, when you use the term residential use as a defining term in an ordinance, it's a problem.
That's the one I'd get rid of. I'd get rid of that.
So instead of, in letter B, instead of is permitted in R1B, R1A, R1C.
It's just a thought, you know, because, but then I know there's going to be outliers where there's large parcels in some of those zoning districts, and it's going to limit those people where they might be able to have more otherwise.
Can you do something with like a special land use or something like that, where then they would have to come before the board and they would have to be able to satisfy that it's contained properly, it's all of these things if they want to exceed.
And just like we just did with the larger, you know, a larger storage building or something, yes, you can do that, yes.
So that might be the way to do it, where you're able to list the zoning space, and then for those lots that are larger, that would maybe reasonably be able to have more, they could apply for a special land use, present information that shows, yes, this in fact makes sense, but it kind of puts a gatekeeping on to prevent from crazy things getting out of control.
Mr. Chair, I think we've heard some great discussion tonight. If there's more, I don't want to cut that off, but in ability of consciousness of time.
Yeah.
If the commission's willing, Casey, Attorney Kaufman, and myself can, start drafting up some language for consideration. I would, be glad to tell you we could present it at the August 28th meeting, but I'm more going to be optimistic for your September 11th meeting instead. That gives us a few weeks to go through, pull this ordinance, provide some red lines, highlight strikes, cross outs as well, and bring back some more actual language on paper for you to review and consider. Considering the, sliding scale, considering other options that we've heard tonight.
I agree. So let's leave it to the professionals to put something together for us, and then we'll review it next meeting or the following meeting whenever it's ready.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Not sure if this is appropriate time or not, but I just am thinking about the residents in the audience, and I know that there's going to be question about, now that we made a recommendation to the board for a rezone, when would potential enforcement start for, so regardless, based on our reading here, we could enforce this ordinance. You got that, Casey?
Yeah, so I was curious about that. Catherine, should Dakota, I don't know.
So, you can wait until the rezoning goes through, or does not go through, till the board acts on the rezoning. You can start talking to the applicant now about, we'll give them a copy of the chicken ordinance as it exists, and advise that, should your rezoning not be approved, this is what you're going to have to comply with. And the sooner you know that, the better. And I think you said the first meeting in September is the 15th or something like that.
I think I said
no. So by the end of September, we should know if that's going to go through or not.
I have a question. So whether or not it goes through, we still need to get a permit for the accessory structure is the coop. So we could proceed with that.
Yes.
We do not know the number of chickens that he will be allowed to have.
As part of the permit process, are you allowed to go on the property and see?
Yes, Dakota does an inspection.
So let's, probably he should either apply for the permit as soon as possible, or we might have to start enforcement.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the accessory structure ordinance, and that's, you have something created for us.
Yes, I made 2 strikeouts or 2 adjustments. One of them is number 2, under letter C. I put the total floor area of all accessory structures on a single lot shall not exceed the total above, except that the first 400 square feet of a private residential garage shall be exempt from this calculation. In our discussion 3 weeks ago, a credit for the private garage was mentioned, so I created this wording, and we discussed that as well. And then also, number 6, letter C, I completely made a strikeout to a lot of that paragraph, so that now the side and rear property line setbacks are 5 across the board, no matter the size or height of the structure.
Okay. Any?
Sorry to interrupt you. Good luck.
Yeah. Any discussion on what's been presented to us? Amber, the revised ordinance?
I'm gonna pass for the moment.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm good with C, 6C being crossed out. I don't think the 400 square feet is enough. Most garages on a house are more than 400 square feet. That's a 20 by 20. Some of these new trucks are 22, 24 feet long. So most of your new houses being built have, you know, larger garages on them. Some of them have 3-car garages, but you can't get 3 cars in them. So, you know, a standard garage, well, like the one that was permitted tonight, he's taken down a 24 by 24, which was a standard garage when it was built, which is 576 square feet. And he's putting up a 24 by 30, which is 720 square feet. And I think a lot of houses now are built with at least a 576 square foot garage, if not a 720 foot garage, because these vehicles are so big, and a lot of them are getting a 3rd stall because you got a
Mower and everything.
well, you got a mom and a dad, maybe a child driving, they want to keep their cars and stuff. I've never been able to put my truck in my garage, even after I built my house, because my trucks were always too long to close the door. And and with, you know, a 20 by 20 square foot, 400 square foot, I don't think that's, you know, your garage is your garage, and I keep going back to that, that's my garage. My accessory building is for everything else. My lawnmower, my boat, my snowmobile, everything which I don't have right now, and whatever else. So I think we should increase that 400 square feet, or even take it out. And I mean, yeah, maybe you gotta leave it in there, but make it reasonable. But this, with the square feet allowed, like 20,000 square feet or less, 840, those numbers are all okay. If you got more than 10 acres and you have a 5,000 foot barn, if you need more than that and you're not on a farm or something, you should come get a special use or something for that. So I think those numbers are good. I just don't like the 400 square feet.
I think we do need to limit it though, because I've seen people build garages bigger than their house.
Yeah.
You know, and so do we really want that?
Yeah, but I think you have to have, you know, a lot of, like I said, a lot of houses being built, you know, vehicles are 22, 23 feet long now, and you need more than a foot to walk around them. And if you're gonna put 2 of them in there, you know, I mean, you're a minimum of 24 by 24, and that's exhaling and trying to walk around it. So, you know, I think that the 24 by 30, you know, the 720 square feet, or even back it down to 600, you know, but I think it needs to be realistic. I don't think if you had 2 Model A's, 400 square feet's fine. but no one's driving Model A's anymore.
So, Mr. Sherwood, if it might help for consideration, the way Casey has this, I would read that as you get a 400 square foot credit towards
That's what I was gonna.
your accessory structures on this with the 400. Now, I do agree a lot of new homes are going in at a larger size, a 22 by 20 or 24 by 20. But the way Casey has this drafted, I interpreted it as a credit of 400 square feet that can apply towards your accessory structure overall. So then you could have, in theory, 1,240 square feet of accessory structure for 2,000 or 20,000 square feet or less.
Oh, so you can add 400 to it.
No, so if your garage is 500 square feet, I would say that's 100 square feet total.
So yes, you get a credit.
Subtract the 400 from it.
So you could have an accessory unit of 1,900 or whatever, no.
So if someone had a 400, say they had a 500 square foot garage.
So can we say shall not be counted, shall not be included in this calculation or something like
I
that?
said shall be exempt from this calculation.
But can we say for clarity, like shall not be
Yeah, and that's what I'm
counted or
saying.
shall not be? You see, because shall be exempt from this calculation is a little confusing. That just confused me.
I don't disagree with Bub, though. I think what he's trying to say is like,
If I'm
standard garages are larger now, so this number, whatever we're saying is exempt for a standard garage, just needs to go up a little bit. Like, it needs to be like 600 square
I would
feet.
say 600
So
square feet.
all I'm saying is just say first 600 square feet of a private residential garage shall not be counted in this calculation.
In the calculation.
That's much clearer.
What did Catherine say?
Yeah.
Shall be, huh?
Shall not be counted in this calculation.
Gotcha.
So if you're allowed 2,000 square feet and you got a 600 square feet garage already, you're good at 2,000 square feet.
You're still allowed-
If you have 800 square feet on your garage, you'd have to take 200 feet off of that 2,000.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that.
Greg? Yeah, essentially, I had that question. It's essentially a credit. I mean, I was leaning towards if you have an attached garage, that shouldn't be counted at all. But I can accept a 600 square foot credit.
Joe?
No, I think that's a good formula. I think we're heading in the right direction there.
Jim?
I agree with 600 square feet there, but I'm kind of wondering with accessory buildings, and maybe I'm off here because I want to make sure vacant land and all that. Sometimes people have vacant land and they might have 10 acres and want to put a pole barn on that vacant land right there. And I see this as saying residential.
That's
So
not
I wonder
allowed.
if it's two different things.
Yes, vacant land, you are not allowed to have accessory structures because there's no principal use. So what would it be accessory to?
Look at,
What if
look at
it's-
number 3, D3. A vacant parcel lot building may be allowed as a special land use.
Which one?
Isn't that D3?
D3 on page 57.
Is that, yeah, so I'm just wondering what that's all, parcel lot building.
And then it
What does
says-
that even mean?
And this is A, for a purpose accessory to residential use allowed.
In the zone in which it's located, so.
But it
what-
says the building may be utilized only for purposes accessory to residential uses. So in other words, it's saying like, let's say you have 10 acres of farmland, I would read that to be, you could have a pole barn as long as you're not living in it and you're using it to store your tractor and other farming
So,
supplies.
Yeah, so under the Right to Farm Act, we allow barns on, okay, but this says a vacant parcel lot building may be allowed as a special land use in AGRH, subject to 2 conditions. The building may only be used for accessory to residential uses allowed in the zone. So it's taking it, what? You know, because you're talking about, okay, and what it also says is in the zone. Now, it doesn't even say it has to be on the same parcel or even adjacent to the same parcel. So can I have a parcel 5 acres over, 4 miles over there, and I say it's accessory to my house over here?
It's confusing. We've had a lot of that
Yes.
coming in where someone's got 10 acres out here
Right.
on ML Avenue.
20 miles away.
And they want to put up a barn, a 24 by 40, which is, 900, and they can't do it because they don't have a resident on the property, that's a lot of tax revenue that we've been missing out on a lot of years because we haven't allowed it.
I think we need to look at and figure out what this number 3 means.
Pavilion Township, and I don't know if it's still that way, but when I used to have property out there, I wanted to put a pole barn up and then build a house. And the only way you can put a pole barn is if you build a house within a year of the pole barn. I don't see that in here.
I think ours is you have to build the house first.
That's how I've been perceiving it, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have the house first, then you can put the accessory or the pole barn up.
Well, what I wanted was to put the pole barn up so that I could put all the equipment to build the house and all the stuff.
Some municipalities allow that, like with a special use, you can put the barn up first, but then the condition on the special use is you must build the house within X number of years, right?
Yeah, I think ours is different than that, isn't it?
Ours doesn't say, so I've been navigating as if you're not allowed to put, but as Catherine said, the vacant parcel lot building is very confusing. If we could iron that out, that'd be great.
I mean,
Iron that out.
yeah, because we have
So
a lot of
perhaps-
people that want to put buildings up on vacant land that have acreage, and we keep telling them no.
So perhaps an accessory structure on a vacant parcel may be allowed, or phrase it like that. That's what I think what it's saying is a vacant parcel building. So a vacant parcel structure is allowed, or Kyle, help me interpret.
I was gonna say, because already D3 is confusing the way it's structured, a vacant parcel lot building. So the internal staff will go through this and modify this and again.
What is the rationale for that? Why would we want to prevent people from building a storage building or even a garage on a vacant parcel?
So if it's a residential district, right, the primary uses are residential, so.
Yeah, but this applies to agricultural as well. If it's a cornfield and he wants to build a barn for his tractor, why is that a problem?
Or equipment.
Good question.
We wondered it for years, Joe.
Well, let's change it.
That's what we're
Good
saying.
idea.
That's why I brought it up.
Thank you, James.
Yes, because I was going to.
Okay, any other comments?
Sandy?
Sandy?
I agreed with Bub with the 400, and the rest of you, that was not big enough by all the, I won't say junk, but all the things we accumulate that we need to store. I've always wondered that myself, and I've always thought that, we have some lots within the municipality that nothing has happened on for years. They're just sitting there. And I always thought, with all these smaller houses, but so much stuff sitting outside, why don't we take those lots and, if neighbors wanted to split them and let them put an additional garage on it, especially in Lower Comstock, I'm like, that would kind of clean up the neighborhood as well. I know that's kind of out there and far-fetched, but it was just me forward thinking as to, giving people more storage when they're living in an area that has smaller house and no storage, because their garages are very small from when those properties were built. So, but I am in, and that's why I brought this to the board, is because I just wanted to see us give our residents a place to be able to store their stuff, but at the same time, I do not want to see people living in them.
No.
So I think that we really need to make sure that that part of this is addressed. And as we go bigger on some of these buildings, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to water runoff, according to what the county has.
Setbacks.
And setbacks.
And lot coverage.
And lot coverage, yes, very much on lot coverage, because we want to keep our green space as well.
Yep.
So flats up behind Myers, it'd be interesting to have Casey maybe kind of take a look at that area up there to see how much space most of those have for building.
A lot of them houses like on Twilight and Crestwood and whatnot, those lots are probably 100 feet wide, but a lot of them are 400 feet deep.
Yes.
They're really, really deep up there, and that, other than the new part of Crestwood and stuff. Where
Right.
The part has decent sized lots.
The older lots are really nice, but Larry's neighborhood, they've been reduced because you got
300 by 150.
Yeah, where the old ones are 100 by 450 probably.
Yeah.
So,
I just think we're doing a great job, and I just, it's nice to see all of us work with some common sense here, and work forward to what our people want, and I think they're going to be happy with all of us being able to do this for the community when we can save them money by not having them go lease from someone else to store their property or their possessions, and they can have them on their property so they can work on them and use them when they want. So, thank you.
So
Chair.
600 square feet, good then?
Yeah, I think everybody thought that was good.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I pitch a couple of other ideas?
Okay. Go.
So I just looked up like homeowner-friendly traits that are in ordinances out there, right? Like if we're trying to make this easier, so a couple of things we could consider. In some areas, there are permit exceptions for small structures, like 120 to 200 square foot. So something very small, you're gonna build a little shed, you don't need a permit to do that perhaps. So I'm not sure how anyone feels about that. And then also, the other one that caught my eye was like tiered height and setback rules. And I'll have to defer to some of you guys that have a little bit better perspective on this from a measurement standpoint, because I will admit that's not my strong suit. But like, as an example, if it's 0 to 200 square feet, then it can't be greater than 15 feet tall. If it's 201 to 400, then you have 19 feet, so on and so forth in terms of height, with a maximum height cap that you could put in or something to that effect. So I know we talked about height and we talked about setback, and Bub, that's, you have a better grasp on that, but I didn't know if any of that would make things easier for the residents also. So just some ideas to make things easier.
I think we took the
our
height off.
I think, did we take it off?
Didn't we?
The height was 22 feet, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The setback tied to the height, I think we took that off, didn't we? Isn't that what you?
Setback tied to the height is gone, but our height for the structure is still on there.
6A.
Right here, it's right here.
Yeah.
15 feet, less than an acre, 20 feet or more.
No, they're talking about.
6A exceed a height of 18 feet on parcels less than an acre, height of 22 feet on parcels an acre or more, an area measured from the building grade to the highest point of the building. So it's 22 feet. And the way the old ordinance is set up, if you're gonna put a structure with 22 feet, you had to come 22 feet from the sideline and 22 from the back.
Yeah.
So I think the 22 feet is okay, but I think the side should go back to where it was back in the 70s or 80s when it was 5 and 10. I mean, that's what your house is from each side. So, keep your building.
You just have to feel the bulk of it. Like, so if you're putting a 22-foot structure 5 foot off the property line, you feel that. You feel that height, right? Because it's 5 feet off the property line so that's why usually there's a 1-story height for accessory structures, generally.
Yeah.
So if you allow it to go to 22 feet, you have to understand and think about how people build on the small lots, like in South Haven or whatever, right up on the property line, right up high. And that's the feel of the bulk or the mass of that structure. And whether you think that's appropriate or not, you think about, accessory structure. And then you have to be really careful they don't turn over into residential dwelling, like an ADU or anything like that, because then you've got somebody living, 5 feet off a property line, so.
Yeah.
You have a fire hazard too.
Well, certainly fire hazard if it's if it's occupant structure, right? Yeah.
Should never be a factor.
So keep
Well, that's like
that in
a 2,000 square foot building, probably gonna have a 412 pitch on it, depending on what the height of the walls are. A lot of them make them 12 feet so they can get a motorhome in them or whatnot, but with a 412 pitch on a building that's 34 foot wide,
It gets up there.
it gets up there around 21, 22 feet. So, I think anything more than that,
Yeah.
so, but I think, the roof's gonna be lower as the building is smaller. Because the pitch, you're not gonna put usually not a 612 pitch on a building like that. You're gonna put a 412 or a 312 on it because you're taking a longer span. And you have to keep your water running off your roof on your property, which means you gotta have eave troughs that come down and retain your own water, so.
All right.
Keep in mind, though, you also generally want 10 feet between any structures for fire access to the back. So if you have 5 and 5, you know, we should probably talk to Chief Beauchamp if he feels comfortable enough, or somebody from the fire department, to get somebody through and actually at 10 foot. I'm in South Haven, and we have 6-foot side yard setbacks, and my neighbor built too close to the property line. She's 2 feet off the property line, but that house was already there when I came to build mine. So, I mean, we are tight. And if we had to get around between that side of our houses for fire, they couldn't get through.
What are the houses setbacks, say 10 and?
5 and 10.
5 and 10, 5 from one side, 10 from the other.
Vice versa, either way.
Okay, 5 from either side,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's tight.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I wanted to follow back to Treasurer Bloomfield's comment earlier about the accessory structures on vacant parcels. A lot of ordinances, as example pulled up here, there is an intent statement for residential districts as well, you know, stating that, you know, different lot sizes, density where single-family residential uses incorporating a reasonable range of lot sizes plus compatible and or accessory uses. Most of our ordinances we see across the state have, you know, intent purposes or intent statements to promote single-family residential with other compatible uses. I don't know of any ordinances out there currently where they permit an accessory structure outside of ag or farm property without a principal use. So, not saying you can't do it, I'm just saying it's not common. And the intent is to help prevent, you know, storage yards, other items that are not characteristic to that district. So that's another thought. I'm not discrediting what Treasurer Bloomfield says. It was something we can pursue further. I'm just saying that.
We will see them sometimes in lake districts, okay? So you have a lake house and you're on the lake, and then, you know, and sometimes they'll say you have to be within a certain number of feet. You don't, you know, as Kyle mentions, it's generally not okay to have a house here in your storage building 2 miles down the road. Doesn't mean you can't do that, but you just want to think about how is that going to be accessory to the principal use, which is the residential dwelling. So, but if you think about, do you want it, do you want to allow it? And then if so, do you want to control where they locate, or you really can do anything you want, but his point is a valid one.
Yeah, and we have a couple right over here on River Street, you know, there's one on River, there's one on Higgins. There are individual pole buildings on single lots that they've been there for years and years and years, so.
So that drives me to my question.
Yeah, right next to Dyer's.
Is that something we want to allow?
I think if someone has property, that they ought to be able to put a building up on it without putting a resident on it.
Well, I wanted to ask Treasurer
Still
Bloomfield.
tax money.
Would she like us to look at drafting language for maybe the ag districts to start with that? I know we already have it in here, special land use, but look at it more as a permitted. Is she considering us looking at it for more of the residential districts? I want to make sure I'm giving you your fair due on this, and if you'd like us to pursue it, I'm happy to. I just want
I
some
feel
direction.
like we have enough to pursue right now. I think we need to finish up some of the other things that we're doing that are more important, Kyle. I don't know if the rest of the board agrees, but that's where I'm at with it. It was just a thought that I was thinking for the future. So I just think that we have so many things right now on our plate that are more important. So, but yes, I would like that to be considered later on. Thank you, Kyle.
Okay, I think we covered that. At this point, we're going to open again for public comment, and I won't read it to you since I already did.
Tammy Keeler. I was just thinking about what you said about those, instead of paying somebody to store your stuff, I don't see why you can't put something on the lot where they'd only had to pay, you know, say you pay $20,000 a year for a storage unit. You put up something, you know, to put your stuff in, and it's yours. And you don't have to worry about paying for it all the time. You see what I'm getting at here? Because I'd hate to use a storage unit, I'm telling you. They're a pain in the butt. As far as the chicken ordinance, I grew up in Comstock, like I said, we had rabbits, we had everything, to feed our family. And a lot of people are doing that now. They're going organic. They don't want to buy stuff out of the store. They want like organic eggs and organic this and that, that they grow themselves. Me, myself, personally, I'd like to raise some rabbits, but I don't have time for it. I got too many grandkids to worry about, so. But that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Any other public comment? If not, I guess I'll close the public comment, and we will go to updates from other boards. Sandy?
You kind of caught me off guard there.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I just forgot what I was going to even say. You better move on because I don't remember what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I still had vacant lot on the brain.
The first reading for both the 6668 East ML from R1A to Ag and mobile vendor ordinance went in front of the Township Board. They both passed on to second reading, and that will happen Monday, August 18th.
Wow.
Okay. Training updates, I don't think we need any of those right now, do we?
Yeah, Clerk Beauchamp received a pamphlet from MSU Extension. I'll probably email that to you all, just explaining what they have course-wise for you all to take online. Citizen Planner, there's a few others, zoning administrator classes, in case you're curious as to what I do. But that is an option. I'll probably email that to you guys on Monday.
Okay, thank you. Any informational further action?
Yeah, you have a plethora of items coming down the pipeline in the next few months. We're looking at, we just received this week a rezoning request from Landscape Forums for Arden. Is that the yeah, Arden. So we'll get that to you on September 11th due to notification requirements. We have the other 28th. There's a few. Casey, I can't.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry. The 28th, we have 3 public hearings, one for rezoning for 155 Elliott. We have a public hearing for an East Main greenhouse they want to erect that is over the size allotment for their parcel. We also have a special land use hearing for 5806 Gold Road, which is a 7 Brews coffee shop coming in. It's going right between Chick-fil-A and Valvoline. They're coming in for a special land use and a site plan review that night. So 2 public hearings and a site plan review. I was also curious as to whether or not we'll bring back the accessory structures for discussion, as we already have a joint meeting that from 4 to 5:45, followed by 3 public hearings and a site plan review. Hefty night, guys.
Probably should limit what we have
Okay.
on our agenda. Planning Commission comments. Amber?
Let me know what you guys want for dinner that night, and I'll handle that one.
Fried chicken.
That'll get messy. All right, so not that the residents are still here, but I just wanted to comment on kind of the decision where I landed on that rezone request. And just as a reminder, like to those that are here and listening, that when you think about the branches of the government, the legislative branch that makes laws is really the Township Board, and we are here more as a judicial branch, right? So we're just trying to read and understand policy that's kind of in place. And so for me, it was important to be fair and consistent with the reasoning that I used for the rezone of the other property. And so while I may have, opposition to the chicken situation in that particular case that we saw tonight, I separated that in terms of how I made my decision. And that was challenging, but just for anyone who may be listening to understand where that landed and why that was so conflicting for the board, I think it's important to know. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, I'll agree with Amber on my decision on the zoning thing tonight was strictly zoning, and the future land use map and whatnot didn't have anything to do with the chickens. It was a zoning thing. I would like to keep moving forward with this accessory building thing. I mean, we can do the other one on a private lot or whatever down the road. But I think if we can keep moving forward this ordinance on sizes and setbacks and whatnot, get it done, we'd probably see a lot of building permits before winter. So just my thoughts.
Thanks, Bo. Greg?
Nothing.
Joe?
I don't think we have enough on our plate at this point, so I'm going to propose that we add another item. And I would like to revisit the text changes that were made to the R1C zone and have a discussion about that. Yeah, whenever the chairman decides to put it on the agenda.
Jim?
Well, I feel that we made progress with accessory. I'm looking forward to continue with it. I want to see this get taken care of, so if people have projects they like to do, they can move forward or look at them and stuff like that. I feel we as a group of planning commissioners are working together. We're listening to each other. We all have different ideas and stuff like that. And I'm really happy that we're moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Sandy?
I want to thank Joe for all the work he put into the chickens. Thank you, Joe. I do appreciate it. And that's really all I have tonight. Thank you.
I want to go back to that ordinance, and I too was opposed to what I saw when I went out there, but at the same time, we weren't voting on his chickens. We were voting on whether it should be zoned agricultural or not. And so given our planning and our future aspirations, I felt I needed to vote the way I did. But I am very happy with the board, the way we act and the way we give our views, whether we disagree with one another or not, but we always come to a conclusion. And I thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, one item we would like to just remind the commission of, we're aiming for September 11th to review the legal opinions that were requested, recently. So that
Unless you don't want them anymore. Okay, I will prepare them. September 11th, note the date.
Okay.
So that will be an item too we'll need to discuss as a commission, is if you want to do a closed session or open session, how you want to move forward with that. Doesn't need to be decided.
Exactly, yeah.
That will have to be a closed session, doesn't it?
Yes. Well,
Yes, we recommend it be a closed session because there's attorney-client privilege information will be shared.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
we did want to mention that as well as coming down for, some future meetings, so.
Okay. With that, I guess I'll adjourn.
So the 28th, we meet at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
For the moratorium?
Yeah.
23rd next Thursday, right?
No, I thought it was the
2 weeks.